Hey everybody, I'm Justin Hodge. I live in Sugarbrook, so not too far from right here. I'm a social worker and a professor of social work at the University of Michigan. I've been married for 3 years, but I've been with my wife for 12. We met in high school, actually. I grew up in Lansing, Michigan, and went to Geyer Park Elementary, and then I went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, where I got a degree in social work and Japanese studies, and then I got my master's degree in social work. I was a practicing clinical social worker for a while, so I used to do child and family therapy with kids and families. But now I'm a professor, and I teach graduate students about social work and how they can get more involved in doing policy and political work.
Oh, let's keep it going. This
Okay,
is
we're going to keep it going.
Yes.
All right, today I'm going to read with you Grace for President. You know, today is, we're getting really close to a big presidential election in 2020, and it's important for all of you at home to be thinking about what do you want to be when you grow up and how you can make a positive change in your community. So let's learn about Grace today. It's got a nice picture of Grace here. So I should add that I'm running for Washtenaw County Commissioner. It's not running for president, but I'm doing what I can to try to make a change in my community. One thing that I've been working on a lot lately has been getting speed bumps in my neighborhood, which when you think about playing outside and seeing cars drive by really quickly, I mean, if we had some speed bumps, there'd be a lot of kids that'd be a lot safer. Something else that I want to get done really soon, once I take office in January, is getting college savings accounts for kids like you, so you can save money while you're doing your K through 12 and then have some money to go to college. So we got a picture here, past presidents and Grace. Grace is thinking about being president herself someday. Here we go. So one Monday morning in September, Miss Barrington rolled out a big poster with all the president's pictures on it. And Grace Campbell could not believe her eyes. Where are all the girls? A lot of presidents, but no girls. That's a very good question, said Miss Barrington. The truth is, our country has never had a woman president. No girl president ever? Grace asked. No, I'm afraid not, said Miss Barrington. And Grace sat at her desk and stewed. No girls. Who'd ever heard of such a crazy thing? And finally, she raised her hand. Yes, Grace. I've been thinking it over, and I'd like to be president. And several of the students laughed. Well, that's not very nice. Now, have you thought about being president? Why don't you think about it? Why, as we go through this, think about why Grace wants to be president and why you want to do what you want to do when you grow up. Well, let's think about the Star-Spangled Banner idea, Grace, said Mrs. Barrington. In fact, we can have our own election right here at Woodrow Wilson Elementary. And the snickering in the room stopped. Grace smiled. Would anyone like to run for president? Miss Barrington asked the class. Nobody else raised their hand. So becoming president was going to be easy, Grace thought. She was the only person that was going to run, so she thought it would be easy. It's never that easy to run for office. The next day, Miss Barrington made an announcement. In the name of democracy. Now, who's heard of democracy? You know what that means? Anybody? It's complicated, but a lot of that involves voting. You should talk to your parents or other adults about making sure that they go to vote. So I've invited Mr. Waller's class to join us. Their class has nominated Thomas Cobb to be their presidential candidate. You can see Thomas over here smiling. You know, Thomas looks a lot like those other presidents that they showed on that wall. Grace's heart sank. Thomas was the school spelling bee champion. His experiments always worked. He got a blue ribbon at the science fair, and he was captain of the soccer team. Becoming president wasn't going to be as easy as Grace thought, after all. Stuff. You can see him over here. All right. So the teachers put the names of all 50 states and the District of Columbia into a hat. Anybody heard of Washington, D.C.? So that's the District of Columbia. Now, they're not a state yet, but they still have a say in helping pick our president. So everyone except for Grace and Thomas got to choose a state. I'm Texas, said Anthony. I'm New Hampshire, said Rose. I'm Michigan. Oh, okay, said Robbie. What does the number 17 mean? Ooh, this is important. So each state is assigned a number of electoral votes. The number is determined by how many people live in that state, said Miss Barrington. Each of you will be representatives for your state. Altogether, our country has 538 electoral votes, Miss Walls explained. On election day, the candidate who receives 270 electoral votes or more wins the election. Why 270, said Miss Rose? That's more than half of all the electoral votes. Becoming president really wasn't going to be as easy as Grace thought. Electoral college is really complicated, but you know, the way you need to think about it for right now is the person that should get the most votes should be the person that wins. So Grace came up with a campaign slogan, "Make history, vote Grace Campbell for president." Thomas came up with his own slogan, "Vote for Thomas Cobb, the best man for the job." So just like we had seen in previous pictures, he's going on this whole men are the only presidents we've had. And it's really unfortunate, but that could change soon. Grace listened to what issues were important to the students, and she made a big list of campaign promises. A peaceful school, no bullies. A cleaner school, no littering. Better hot lunches, no more fish stick tacos. Oh, that's interesting, okay. Now, if you were running for president in your school, what kind of changes would you like to see? Something for you to think about. And Thomas made up his own list of promises. Free tutoring, free soccer lessons, fish stick tacos every week. Pretty different here. Grace made campaign posters and buttons too. Thomas made buttons too. And here we go. Looks like it's a big debate they're about to have. Each week, the teacher set aside time for the candidates to meet with their constituents. Polls were taken, voters were making their choices, just like many adults are about to do, maybe your parents too. Grace continued to campaign. You see her over here, hat. At recess, she gave speeches. Politicians tend to give a lot of speeches. And during lunch, she handed out free cupcakes. Okay, that helps. Cupcakes? I didn't give out any cupcakes. I'm gonna have to do that next time. And after school, she had rallies. Here she is dressed as the Statue of Liberty. Meanwhile, Thomas wasn't worried. Thomas is over here confident, thinks he's gonna win. He had cleverly calculated that the boys have slightly more electoral votes than the girls. We saw a little something like this with President Trump running against Secretary Clinton. All right. At recess, Thomas studied the spelling words. During lunch, he worked on his latest science experiment. And after school, he played soccer. He's not campaigning at all. Not even working for it. Even before the election, Grace made good on her promise. She joined the safety squad. She organized a school beautification committee, and she volunteered her time in the school cafeteria. All those promises that Grace made, she was working to make them happen. Now she's over here chilling. In early November, Woodrow Wilson Elementary School hosted a special Election Day assembly. Grace and Thomas took their places on stage at the school, and the school band began to play. And here we go. Henry was the first representative to approach the microphone. The Yellowhammer state of Alabama cast its 9 electoral votes for Thomas Cobb. Fletcher said, the last frontier state of Alaska cast its 3 electoral votes for the best man for the job, Thomas Cobb. Uh-oh. But the Grand Canyon state of Arizona cast its 10 electoral votes for Grace Campbell. Hannah called out. Things might change. And so it went. State after state cast their electoral votes. The school board and the gymnasium kept track of all the totals. And here we go. The voting demonstration was quickly coming to an end. Now you can watch all this in real time this Tuesday. Not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. The Badger state of Wisconsin cast its 10 votes for my best friend, Grace Campbell. And here we go. It's a really close race here. Grace looked at the scoreboard. Thomas had 268 electoral votes. She had 267. There was only one state left unaccounted for, Wyoming. I don't know how often Wyoming would be a tiebreaker in a real election, but this is going to be interesting. Let's see what he has to say here. Thomas grinned, and Grace felt sick. Sam walked up to the microphone, and he looked at Thomas. He looked at Grace. He looked down at Grace's handmade flag. Sam didn't say a word. What are you waiting for? Thomas whispered. The band stopped playing. All eyes were on Wyoming. Finally, Sam cleared his throat. The equality state of Wyoming cast its 3 electoral votes for... Who do you think it's going to be? I don't know. Is it going to be Grace? I hope so. For Grace Campbell. She won. The gymnasium erupted into loud cheers. A few boos, too. There's always some haters out there. Ms. Barrington approached the podium. With 270 electoral votes, the winner is Grace Campbell. Thomas looked stunned. Grace hugged Sam. Why'd you do that, she asked. She handed Grace his flag. Because he said, I thought you were the best person for the job. The following week, the students in Ms. Barrington's class were preparing for their career day presentations. Grace volunteered to go first. She stood at the front of the room and glanced at the poster, still hanging on the wall. My name is Grace Campbell, and when I grow up, I'm going to be the President of the United States. And this time, everyone believed that she would. And here she is in the future. being sworn in as President of the United States. It's a short book, but I think there's a lot we can learn from it. It's unfortunate that we haven't had a girl president yet. But if we look at who's running for president and vice president now, with Kamala Harris running to be our vice president, which we've never had a female vice president either, there's a lot of barriers that may be broken this election. So I think it's important that you spend a little bit of time talking to your parents and other adults about who they're going to be voting for and why, and what you can learn about what's going on in your community.